From the bright lights of Las Vegas to the shadows of personal tragedy, Rick Harrison, the face of Pawn Stars, has lived a life that few truly understand. To millions, he's the shrewd businessman, the history buff, and the master negotiator behind one of the most successful reality shows ever. But behind the counters of gold and silver pawn shop, there's a story far more complex, a story of heartbreak, legal battles, and loss. Rick built an empire, but at what cost? A childhood marked by illness, a rise to fame through relentless hustle, and a family business that became both his greatest success and his deepest source of conflict. A bitter legal feud with his own mother, the collapse of multiple marriages, the devastating loss of his father, and most recently, the tragic death of his son Adam. Rick has endured more than most could imagine. But through it all, he's remained standing, still dealing, still fighting, still trying to navigate a life that's anything but ordinary. This is the untold story of Rick Harrison's heartbreak, the triumphs, the tragedies, and the reality behind Pawn Stars. For Rick Harrison, life had already been filled with challenges, but nothing could prepare him for what happened on January 19th, 2024. That day, his world shattered. His son, Adam Harrison, was found unresponsive in Las Vegas. The cause, an overdose of fentanyl and methamphetamine. He was just 39 years old. For anyone, the loss of a child is unthinkable. For Rick, it was a devastating reminder of a crisis that has been claiming lives across the country. His grief quickly turned to a call for action. In the days following Adam's death, Rick didn't just mourn, he spoke out. Something has to change, Rick said, his voice heavy with emotion. Fentanyl is killing our kids, our friends, and our communities. It's a crisis, and we need to do something about it. Fentanyl has become one of the deadliest drugs in America, an invisible killer, often mixed into other substances without users even knowing. For Rick, Adam's death wasn't just a personal tragedy. It was part of a much bigger problem. But while Rick took his grief to the public stage, behind closed doors, he was just a father trying to process the unimaginable. Adam had stayed largely out of the spotlight, avoiding the fame of Pawn Stars. But he was still a part of the family legacy, someone Rick had loved, someone who had grown up around the business, and someone whose absence would be deeply felt. In an interview, Rick described the pain as a hole that will never be filled. The same man who built an empire on knowing the worth of things now faced the one loss that no price could ever compensate for. But this wasn't the first time Rick had faced heartbreak. This tragedy came on the heels of another painful battle, one that had already put his family at odds. A legal war with his own mother. Before the fame, before the pawn shop, before Pawn Stars became a household name, there was just a kid named Rick Harrison. Born in 1965 in Lexington, North Carolina, Rick's early life wasn't the picture of success. In fact, it was filled with challenges, ones that would shape the tough, business-savvy man the world would later know. At the age of 8, Rick was diagnosed with epilepsy. The seizures were unpredictable, terrifying, and life-altering. Forced to spend long stretches bedridden, he found an escape in something unexpected: books. But not just any books, history books. While other kids were playing outside, Rick was diving deep into the past, fascinated by the stories behind objects, civilizations, and forgotten relics. Without knowing it, his lifelong passion had already begun: his love for history and its tangible connection to the world around him. But life didn't slow down for the Harrisons. The family moved to San Diego and later to Las Vegas, chasing opportunities. And then, tragedy struck. Rick lost a sibling, a pain that never truly fades. For a boy already facing medical battles, This was another emotional weight to carry. School wasn't his thing. While he was sharp, traditional education didn't hold his interest. Instead, his real lessons came from something else: hustling. By the time he was a teenager, he had already figured out something crucial. If you understand value, you can turn anything into a profit. At just 16, he dropped out of high school, not because he didn't want to learn, but because he wanted to do things his own way. He started selling goods, mostly fake Gucci bags, flipping them for profit. It was his first real taste of business, and he was hooked. Las Vegas, a city built on risk, where fortunes are won and lost every night. It was here, in 1981, that Rick and his father, Richard Harrison, better known as the Old Man, decided to take a gamble of their own. They started small, a coin shop, just a modest little place, dealing in gold and silver. Business wasn't always booming, but Rick had learned from his father that persistence was everything. The pawn industry fascinated them both. People came in desperate for cash, and others came looking for treasures. Every item had a story, and every sale was a negotiation. But they wanted more. The dream was bigger than just coins. It was a full-scale pawn shop. The problem: in Las Vegas, pawn licenses were notoriously difficult to get. Only a handful were allowed, and there hadn't been a new one issued in years. For 8 long years, they fought for that license. 8 years of setbacks, bureaucracy, and near misses. But in 1989, their persistence paid off. They secured their pawn license, and the gold and silver pawn shop was officially born. First, it was just another pawn shop in Vegas. But what set Rick apart was his ability to spot deals, negotiate hard, and turn everyday transactions into something bigger. He wasn't just buying and selling, he was storytelling, connecting the past with the present through the objects that passed through his doors. The business grew, becoming one of the most well-known pawn shops in the city. But at that point, no one, not even Rick, could have imagined what was coming next. A simple idea that would change everything. A reality show that would turn this small family-run business into a global phenomenon. For Rick Harrison, success didn't come without sacrifice. The glitz and glamour of reality TV couldn't shield him from real-life struggles. Behind the scenes, he faced heartbreak, loss, and battles that couldn't be won with negotiation. Rick's personal life was complicated. He went through multiple divorces, each one a painful chapter in his journey. His third marriage, which ended in 2020, was yet another reminder that even for a man who built his fortune on making deals, some things just don't work out. But no loss hit harder than the passing of his father, Richard "Old Man" Harrison, in 2018. For years, the Old Man had been the heart and soul of gold and silver pawn, known for his sharp wit and no-nonsense approach. Fans loved him, but to Rick, he was more than just a TV personality. He was his mentor, his rock, his best friend. Losing his father left a hole that nothing, not money, not fame, not success, could ever fill. The shop carried on, but it would never be the same. Then came 2020. The world changed overnight. The COVID-19 pandemic didn't just shut down casinos, hotels, and restaurants. It hit the pawn business hard. With tourism grinding to a halt, gold and silver pawn shop, usually buzzing with customers, was left eerily quiet. A business that once made millions was now barely scraping by. Rick had spent his whole life mastering the art of turning a profit, but this was a challenge even he couldn't have predicted. The pawn shop was bleeding money, and the future was uncertain. But if there's one thing Rick Harrison knew how to do, it was adapt. He tightened expenses, relied on online sales, and kept pushing forward, determined to keep his father's legacy alive. And As Vegas slowly reopened, so did gold and silver pawn, proving that even in the toughest times, the shop and Rick would survive. But just as business was stabilizing, Rick found himself in another battle, one he never expected. Not with a rival, not with a business partner, but with his own mother. In 2022, Joanne Harrison, Rick's mother, filed a lawsuit against him, accusing him of taking over the family business without her full understanding. She claimed Rick had mishandled finances, taken control of assets unfairly, and even requested a restraining order to protect family wealth for Rick. This wasn't just a legal issue, it was deeply personal. The gold and silver pawn shop wasn't just a business. It was his life's work, built with his father from the ground up. Now, he was being accused of betraying that very legacy. Rick denied the allegations, calling the lawsuit a misunderstanding fueled by legal disputes over the family estate. But the damage was done. Family wounds had been exposed in the public eye, and the battle wasn't just about money, it was about trust. Despite the legal drama, the pawn shop remained standing. The business, the brand, and the legacy continued. But the scars of these battles, both personal and professional, would always be there. Beyond the world of pawn shops and reality TV, Rick Harrison has never been one to shy away from sharing his opinions. Whether it's business, the economy, or government policies, he's got something to say, and he's not afraid to say it. Over the years, Rick's interest in politics has grown, leading him to publicly endorse political candidates and even consider running for office himself. He's been vocal in his support for Donald Trump, aligning himself with conservative policies, particularly those affecting small businesses and economic freedoms. And it hasn't just been talk. At one point, he seriously considered a run for governor or even U.S. Senate, believing that his business expertise and no-nonsense approach could bring real change. And in 2023, Rick received an unexpected honor. He was named a Kentucky Colonel, one of the highest civilian awards in the state. The title, bestowed upon those who have made significant contributions to society, was a testament to his impact beyond just reality TV. While he hasn't officially entered politics, one thing's for sure: whether in business, TV, or public life, Rick Harrison always finds a way to stay in the spotlight for years. Fans knew they could walk into the gold and silver pawn shop and find Rick at the counter, ready to strike a deal. But these days, things are a little different. After decades of running the business, Rick has taken a step back. He's no longer working full-time at the shop, choosing instead to focus on what matters most: his family. But don't think for a second that he's done with the pawn world. Even in semi-retirement, he's still chasing deals, just on a much bigger stage. Pawn Stars Do America has given him the chance to take the show on the road, meeting collectors across the country and uncovering some of the rarest artifacts in history. It's the best of both worlds: less time behind the counter, more time doing what he loves. Rick Harrison's life has been anything but easy. From losing loved ones to legal battles, from business struggles to personal heartbreak, he's faced it all. But if there's one thing he's proven, it's this: he's a survivor. Even through the darkest times, he stayed true to who he is: tough, determined, and always ready for the next challenge. No matter what life throws his way, one thing is clear: Rick Harrison isn't going anywhere. A legacy that endures through the highs and lows, the deals and disputes, the losses and victories. Rick Harrison's story is one of resilience. He built something from nothing, turning a small pawn shop into a global brand. But more than that, he built a legacy for millions of fans around the world. Rick isn't just a businessman, he's a storyteller, a history buff, and the guy who made haggling an art form. Life may be unpredictable, But if there's one thing Rick has proven, it's that no matter the deal, no matter the challenge, there's always value to be found. And that's a deal he's always willing to make.